The following podcast does contain some mature language. More importantly, it can and will contain spoilers for portions of the main scenario questline and possibly content released in patch 6.1. You have been warned. On with the show. From the many realms of Atheris to the distant reaches of the 1st and the 13th via the magic of podcasting, this is episode 13 of A Podcast Reborn, a show celebrating our journey in the past, present, and possible future of Final Fantasy XIV. This episode is being recorded on Saturday, May 1st of 2022. Mayday! Mayday! My name is Brian Black, otherwise known as Ro, and with me, as always, are my two amazing co-hosts. First off, we have Resident Chaos Gremlin and lead artist of the next hit Wacky Aura romance manga. Hi, Megan.
Hi. I'm on drugs. And by drugs, I mean thankful. Luckily, I had a really sore throat 2 days ago. I'm mostly recovered, but I'm still icky. So, yeah, I just took Dayquil before we started recording. It's gonna kick in mid-show. Should be a good time.
All right. Speaking of sick, with her as always is an old man that's not an old man, but full of dad jokes even when he's regular type sick. Hi, Brandon.
Hey, how's it going? It is in fact the 1st of May. The 1st of May, and you all know what Jonathan Colton said starts today. But in other news, I have heard a lot of rumblings from all the new players that have been getting into the game lately. They don't really want to try out crafting and gathering. I guess they're just too used to the one button or one click method of other MMOs. Whatever. I feel it's our duty as a community podcast to encourage people to embrace this aspect of the game. And I want to start with my friends, the Black Mage mains out there. I think you should all start by leveling Fisher, because as a Black Mage, you've already got a skill that will translate properly. Don't move while casting.
Oh gosh, that went a ways, man. That was a journey.
The best dad jokes always are.
I mean, I had no idea where we were going. That was perhaps, if I took a stopwatch, that may have been your longest dad joke yet.
I'm pretty sure it definitely occupies the most lines in the Google Docs, so I don't doubt you're correct.
It probably would have dwarfed my minimal show notes that I keep for myself for the show. All right. Well, here we are. Lucky episode 13. Not any big momentous events going on aside from the fact that 6.11 released. So we've got people attempting the new Ultimate Dragonsong Reprise. We may be talking about spoilers about that. Do you two know about how that all plays out and the twist?
I mean, you gotta. I'm on Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm purposefully not trying it until there are like guides and stuff out because I am too derpy to try and figure things out on the fly. I haven't even done Endsinger yet. Our static disbanded for the rest of the tier because everybody's BIS.
Oh.
Not anymore. They're not. They don't have their Endsinger weapons.
Yeah.
Well, I think P4S is still the best slot for everybody.
Yeah,
so,
I have no idea. But
I'm like, man, I wanted to level up all my alt jobs, or gear up all my alt jobs, but I guess I'm gonna have to pug for that.
So, quick question. If I'm not participating in P4S, is an item level 590 weapon basically the best I'm going to have for a while?
Well, okay. It depends on how far you're willing to go in normal mode. Because if you get a Discal out of, I think it's P2S and P3S, you can upgrade your Tombstone weapon to item level 600.
Don't you have to beat P3S for that?
Yeah, Discals drop out of P2S. So I think you can get it out of just doing Mr. Crocodile.
Ah, okay.
But yeah, that's what I've got for. I was trying to do Monk in PvE, but I gave up. I've realized that melee is just not for me. It's not my bag, baby.
So here's an easy way to upgrade your 590 weapon to 600.
Yeah.
Let me see here. So basically, you've got to run P4 normal 4 times now. Trade those blades that you get for doing it for a discal tombstone.
That's the thing.
Then you can basically get the weapon that way. But to get the upgrade item, you can actually trade that for a coin from the new 24 man.
Oh yeah. So just do your normals, and you'll get it eventually.
So I should be doing P4 normal every week then, and I've skipped out on that the past couple of weeks. So whoops.
Every clear will get you a unsung blade of Asphodelos.
Right.
Four of them will get you the tombstone.
The original weapon.
Yeah. 4 of those will get you the tombstone. It's down from 7 now, and then you just need 500 astronomy and the tombstone, and you get a 590 weapon. And then literally all you have to do is go run Aglaya once, and you can get a coin from that. Trade that in for the Radiant, whatever it's called, Robo Rants, which is like the upgrade item, and then you go trade that and your weapon in, and boom, augmented 600 weapon.
Can you get the Roborant from an Aglaya coin?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Because the only things
All
right, the only things that I saw that I could get was like the twine and the coating.
I'm almost positive you can get the Roborant from it. Let me confirm that. I said I was staring at the data in Garland Tools. I was lying about that.
I forgot. It is P3S because you gotta get the Roborant, the weapon thingy.
Yep.
And but I got that so long ago. Back when I was still doing Bard, actually, because hilariously, the first week that I downed P4S with my main static, the dancer weapons dropped, and so I was like, "What? I'm done with Bard forever."
Okay, I misspoke. My spreadsheet is in fact incorrect. You cannot get the Roborant with the Aglaya coin.
Ooh.
So you have to get the P3 Savage drops. So I'm going to update my little gearing guide spreadsheet and
P3S.
I need to look for a P3S carry. Gotcha.
I mean,
if you want to get a 595 weapon, you can clear a freaking Endsinger Extreme.
Endsinger Extreme looks insane, but in a good way. I haven't tried it yet. I watched the video, but I was on Dayquil, so I remember most of it. It's like a bunch of like 3 things happen in a specific order, and you got to remember what the order was and what happened, and then it's going to tell you, oh, the first thing that happened is now the third thing that happened, and the third thing that happened is now the second thing that's going to happen, and it's like, oh Jesus. Oh no.
It sounds like a lot of mental gymnastics.
Yeah, and I'm bad at that, considering that I was a WoW raider for so long, and WoW raiding is all about like twitch reflexes. The thought of like having to sit there doing the mental calculus is like
I guess that is kind of a major difference between FF14 rating and WoW rating is there's a lot more mental gymnastics in rating counters for 14 just because it's not as much about it's not as much about the other aspects of that you're used to with WoW.
Yeah, it's very you really have to memorize the fight. You can't just react to stuff when it happens, because in WoW rating, especially if you had deadly boss mobs, you would just get like warnings like this thing's happening, or like, oh, there's shit on the floor, move, and it would be like you got to react immediately. And like, yeah, you would kind of know what the fight was going to entail. But Final Fantasy is it's like clockwork. Like things happen in a specific order every single time, and a lot of it is like you have to be pre-positioned, and if you're not pre-positioned, you're totally fucked. So it's like there's going to be a big ball of fire, and if you're anywhere near the middle, you're going to die. And it's like you have to know that that's coming and get out. And on top of that, you have a really complicated rotation. So I would argue that Final Fantasy rating is harder in a lot of respects, but I don't know, more satisfying. The other thing is that when you are rating in Final Fantasy and people are parsing, you are not going up against the other people in your raid. You are going up against every single other person that does your class.
You see, that's even more intimidating, though.
It's very intimidating.
Here's the thing. I don't want to even think about parsing and stuff like that, because I almost guarantee that if I were to parse my performance in some of these, like, Aglaia encounters and stuff like that, I'd be in, like, 5% or less, the bottom 5%.
Let me tell you, if you screw up one time, you can't get better than green. And I speak from experience. And I have parsed purple, but only on Dancer and only on the earlier fights. But like, even when I'm like, oh yeah, I don't think I can do better than that, it's like blue. I'm like, ah.
I will note, and I am speaking from a place of zero experience here. This is secondhand information, so take it with whatever that's worth. I have read in places that people are capable of clearing the savage fights with all gray parsers in the entire group.
I totally believe it. The thing is,
I mean, the whole parsing thing to me just reeks of damage meters again, and I find that to be incredibly toxic. And I know there's a whole mentality of don't ask, don't tell when it comes to mods. But given that there has been a lot of discussion about people using mods to cheat in Crystalline Conflict, I'm not going to complain if they crack down on that and all these parser mods are suddenly not available to use. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are going to cry heretic at me. Guess what? I don't care.
It's very nice as a tool for self-improvement, because there's a website you can plug it into and it will tell you how to improve your rotation and everything. And for me, what was the most difficult the longest time is that I'm coming from WoW rating, if you have your rotation, it's usually like when a button comes up, you hit that button like immediately. You don't wait for it. But in Final Fantasy, it's like you have to hit your GCDs, and if you hit too many OGCDs, like off global cooldowns, that will delay your GCD, which will cause the DPS loss. So I have to learn to no, do not press 11 buttons in between two other buttons. Only do 2 buttons, which was very difficult, but it had improved my DPS significantly. And it's like I would never have known that if I hadn't had that tool to figure it out.
I find it fascinating that I can see why they would not want to include some sort of ranking or system of to show players how well they did or didn't do in normal encounters. But I feel like there's a space for the dev team to explore in doing kind of a performance rating or ranking for Savage encounters, considering that Savage does require that extra step, that kind of next level execution mechanics and stuff. And
the closest thing that they have in game is if you go out to
Stone Sea Sky.
Yeah. You can see if you have the DPS to beat a boss or not. And I don't know, I would recommend that. It's a really good way to work on your rotation because, there's no mechanics or anything to deal with. And yeah. I don't know, since I'm no longer actually rating with a static anymore, I'm I kind of want to go back to board. But it's I don't know how it's so obnoxiously complicated, although they changed it a little bit because I was playing Dancer during the patch. So when I came back, they changed how the songs work. I don't have an extra button for one of my procs. The song just changes into the proc. So that's screwed up one of my macros because I used to have a macro that was just this song, and then if I hit it again, then the next song, and then if I hit it again, then the next song. But yeah. I just remember rating and like everything's going crazy, and then I realize that like my dots had fallen off, and I'm just like, no, my bars.
And Ro, I would agree with you, except there's too many examples out there of player behavior that would take that information and just be toxic with it.
It's
like
true.
Megan, I don't want to call out your specific static leader, but I remember you had told us that you wanted to switch to machinist, and your static leader basically said that machinist was a garbage job and you would never allow one into his static.
Yeah, but that's the thing. If you're doing a static, you have to be a team player. Like, but like if I have the ability to bring a bunch of buffs to the team, then I should. Like,
Sure, but I don't think it's right for someone to basically go, oh, this job is complete garbage based on, okay, if you have a problem with selfish DPS jobs, that's fine. You do you. I love Machinist, and I will play it till the day I die.
Okay,
so you can just, bite my arm off. I don't care.
Here's the
but
thing.
I really don't want the whole, oh, this job does terrible DPS, here's the numbers to prove it thing, to be a widespread mentality, because every job is capable of clearing every piece of content out there that's been repeatedly established and beaten into us over and over again.
You were not there for the 4 hours of wiping we did every week, wherein we got down to like 0.3% of killing a boss.
No, I guess I was not, but that's my choice.
And so that's the thing. Like, if you're going to play a selfish DPS class, it needs to bring really good DPS, and Machinist is not that. And like, even as like a dancer or a bard, I'm like green or blue at best. Like, I'm not a pro player either way. So I'm like, I don't want to be costing us clears, and getting down to like sub 1% or sub 5%, then you can, and like repeatedly over and over again for weeks, you can really feel the like, maybe I should switch jobs, or maybe we should have a better cup or whatever. And like, you're really trying to do it like together as a team, as a raid comp. And I remember when I was playing Machinist, it gave the same buffs as a bard. It was like, I can't remember what it was, but it wasn't songs, but it was like something with your machinery, like gave people more credit or gave people whatever, but like they've taken that out now. So
yeah, I think the only utility Machinist has ever brought, aside from their shielding, is the whole, oh, I'm going to throw a wrench at the guy and they do less damage for like 10 seconds or something like that. Yeah. I didn't start playing till Stormblood though, so there may have been something before that where that was the case.
It was very funny because it was I the first time I was raiding was back in Heaven's Ward, and I had leveled up as a bard, but of course Machinist was the new hotness at the time, and it was apparently doing a lot better damage than bards were doing, and so the raid that I was in was like, you should go Machinist, and like helped me level it and gear it and everything. So I was raiding Machinist initially, and now it's like the opposite of like, get that fucking Machinist out of here, and I'm like, I just want gun.
Well,
I will say I love Machinist class fantasy. I love the aesthetic, and I just love the ability to be like, is that a dragon? Better pull out my gun.
Yeah, and I mean that's how I feel about it. I mean, I love it for all those reasons. And again, I don't do static prog, anything like that. So I'm coming at it from that angle of, I want to play this job. It's my favorite. It's the one I know best. And you're telling me you refuse to do it because it's quote unquote selfish. Frankly, if I'm good enough to clear the Stone Sky Sea version of this mechanic, I feel like you're kind of being a dick if you're telling me I can't play this job. If I'm capable of playing it at a level that the game's in-game, mechanics say I can clear this with this job.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, there are selfish CBS classes. That's just like part of how they built it. Like, there are ones that buff, and there are ones that, well, selfish, I don't know. If selfish is not fun to hear, there are classes that do not buff anybody else. And the trade-off is supposed to be that if you don't bring any buffs, then you do a bunch of damage with, like, Black Mage or Samurai or something like that. But, yeah, I don't know. I think that they should probably just give Machinists some buffs to give out. Because
I don't disagree with that by any means. I'm just saying if the in-game tools that indicate you're putting out enough DPS to clear this, if I'm capable of doing that with my level of skill with Machinist, Frankly, I think that should be good enough. And I do not like the idea of people going off of, third-party damage tools to just discriminate against people who prefer certain jobs, or just discriminating against certain jobs in the first place.
Even without the third party stuff, if we're getting down to sub 1% wipes every week, and you have a class that's not buffing anybody, you're gonna come to that conclusion anyway of like, are you sure you can't play? Because like, there are other ranged physical DPSs that would buff the entire raid and would help out, or like maybe like people are always gonna know what does the most damage. I don't know, like, just with the tooltips and shit.
I honestly think that this is like one of those discussions where I feel that there's really no right or wrong here. Every group kind of handles it differently, right? And I would say that when it comes to Savage rating, there are probably some groups that are far more strict and stringent than others, or some groups are probably more forgiving than others. At the end of the day, I think it just from the outside looking in, because I don't do Savage content, but as a normal content player, I accept that there's kind of this unwritten expectation that if you are going to do Savage content, then that requires not just DPS, not just knowing your rotation, but doing everything you can to give yourself and to give the group as much of an advantage as possible. Does that mean being a little selfless, not just in your role in your job, but also in your role as just a member of the static? Debatable, right? I lean on the side of, yeah, probably, simply because just from my experience in WoW rating, that's kind of how it was for the most part until my the last rating group that I was with. But when I was doing heroic content in Cataclysm and such, there was definitely that expectation. Cataclysm is a WoW expansion. Ages and ages ago, but before the dawn of time.
That's like when I started reading.
Right? So it's kind of one of those things where, like, current Savage content, I think it just is what it is. When you get to it being, an expansion behind, like, if I was going to go do Savage content from Shadowbringers and stuff like that with a group of people, then yeah, definitely just go unrestricted, no expectations on like what class you bring. Just pay attention to the mechanics and you'll steamroll the thing as long as you follow a few simple rules, and there you go. So there's a time and a place for everyone to conquer the content, but if you're going to be doing the most current content at Savage, then it is what it is.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that it's so difficult that you really need to eke out every little bit of damage or survivability or whatever that you can. And like, we'll get to the points where it's like, we're optimizing. Well, the big thing is like making sure everybody's cooldowns line up so that we can all buff each other. Like, coordinating when we're going to do our potions, coordinating when we're going to have like damage reduction cooldowns that are non-healer specific, like, you really, and it's like, until you've been wiping on something for like 4 hours and then you get to the like 0.3% wipe, it's an experience you must have, and then you kind of get it, and then you're like, oh yeah, if if only we had just a little bit more, and then you start like looking at yourself and looking at each other and being like,
Yeah, I guess that's just a mindset I'm no longer capable of being in after having stopped raiding in WoW and never done static, Savage prog in this game. It's something I'm no longer willing to do. It's like, I want to play the job that I enjoy playing, and if that happens to be machinist and you don't like it, well, sorry, I'm not helping you.
And that's why normal mode is there for both you and I, Brandon.
Yeah.
Damn straight.
And like once the next raid tier comes out, you know, you can. Well, that's the thing is like unless you're progging, I don't think it matters what you do. And also, you know, you can if you want to do a static and you don't want to be absolutely maxed out, that's fine. You're gonna wipe a lot. Just make sure that you're like in a group that's cool with that. Like that's the thing. Like I wanted to be in a group that was actually gonna clear everything. and I want to I want to do my part. I want to carry my weight. Like that's the thing in Final Fantasy for static progression. There's no carrying. There's absolutely no carrying. Like in WoW, even at the hardest difficulties, you could carry one or two people probably, especially now that you can have a raid as big as you want.
Oh yeah, I mean, a lot of the top mythic guilds will sell runs for gold to people. It's how they fund their world first race. Like
every single raid tier, especially in the later fights, will have a mechanic where it's like, okay, everybody has to do this thing. One person fucks up, the whole raid is getting wiped. And it's usually like 10 minutes into the fight, 5 minutes into the fight. So it's like, oh, Jesus Christ. And like P4S is like 80% that, just constantly of like, yeah, you got to do this thing or you wipe the raid. And like, whoa. There's no carrying that. It doesn't even matter what your DPS is at that point. It's like, if you don't do the thing, we're all going to die. So
if
please.
You are not a Dance Dance Revolution master, then just turn around and walk away.
If you can't determine what icon was above your head so you know where to stand to break your tether.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So the long and the short of it is I'm going to be stuck with a 590 weapon probably until the next grading tier, and that's perfectly fine. We got off. This was like a 25-minute tangent because I was talking about Dragonsong Reprise Ultimate. This is how this show goes sometimes. But while I won't be participating in that content when it's fresh and current, watching some of the attempts and watching what people were going through on that and seeing, by the way, spoilers for this, you can save Harshafon.
Yeah. I mean, Twitter's been going nuts about it, so.
Yeah.
I knew that. I'm just like, I don't want to try it until I have an actual chance of doing it. I don't want to like go into a re-traumatization slaughterfest for 5 hours.
That's the thing, right? Isn't that kind of cruel? It's like part of the progression of that is it starts off with you get to see Harshafont die again and again and again and again. Yeah. And it's only when you get past like what the second or third phase that time warps back and now you have a chance to save him. Oh my God.
It's literally like emotional blackmail of like, oh, you're not interested in the gear? Well.
And it's not canon. It's literally canon. The wandering minstrel just telling stories to tug at your heartstrings.
Yeah, basically.
I'm sorry. I don't sign up to have my emotions manipulated like that.
Oh, you don't like time travel AU?
No.
Clearly.
There was a reason I stopped watching Doctor Who. I got sick of it.
The Wandering Minstrel is just a big name fan on fanfiction.net in Aor's. Yeah. Ow. Sorry, I'm being bullied by my cat. Ow.
Get her, Butterscotch. Let her have it.
She likes to pull my hand in and lick it, and so I'm like, oh, she's being sweet, and then she just I'm like, ah.
And she got a taste. Now she wants a bite.
She's got her claws in there, so if I yank my hand out, I'll get scratched. She's like, haha, you're mine now.
Well, make sure you check your temperature afterwards, because otherwise you might have a cat scratch fever.
No, she didn't.
God.
That's legitimately something you have to worry about. But no, she didn't break the skin. But I also have disinfecting liquid bandage for when she scratches me.
So, a couple of other things I want to talk about today, possibly. The first thing is, I don't think we talked about this on the last episode all that much, but so I have to ask you to, how are your adventure plates looking?
Fan-freaking-tastic.
Amazing.
Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how loot is your adventure plate?
Oh, I chickened out because people were getting banned.
Oh, really? So they were taking action against those? I had no
Yeah.
idea. Oh, wow.
On Reddit, I saw some posts that were like, your adventure plate is not within the game terms of service or something like that. And I'm like, sir, you let us do this. I had one that was mildly lewd. It wasn't like super bad. It was just sort of like my dancer like looking over her shoulder with the camera like kind of on her butt of like looking at the person like taking the picture, like someone's taking a picture of her from behind, and she was like, ah. But yeah, I didn't do anything. Like, I've seen some crazy ones. Like the funniest one was a monk in like a skirt and 2B leggings, but it was just like crotch shot, like right in the middle because they're doing like the spinning, jumping kick.
Yep.
And you can't even see their body because it's just the skirt spread out all over the place.
I saw some interesting ones out there, for sure. Again, I had no idea that they were actually taking action against those, which would actually explain why I haven't seen so many of late. I didn't even think about that. But I was looking at some adventure plates over the last couple of days. I'm like, I guess people got out of their lewd phase with it.
Oh, we're all just cowards at heart. We will not die on this hill.
I've got one that's a little bit risque. It's my Mikote in her red mage gear. Part of that, she has a pretty short skirt, and so I did the slash pose emote for female Mikotes, in which they kind of like bend over a little bit before they stand back up and do that weird cat girl pose, with the hands thing. Yeah, that. So I stopped that at that point, just enough to the point where it's like, that goes real high up the leg, but you can't see anything else. So I'm probably borderline with that, but...
Is it the racial skirt, the Mikote skirt?
Yeah, it is. It's a Mikote skirt.
So, yeah, for my main is Mikote, and her, like, Scion uniform is, like, the Scion jacket and then the Mikote skirt underneath.
Yeah.
And, oh my god, I cannot upskirt her more than Square does in the freaking cutscenes. The funniest one was probably like, so I'm wearing my uniform in Charlian in like the beginning quest, and when Graha was following you around and you talk to him, he's like, "Oh, are you feeling cold?" And I'm like, "I feel attacked right now."
Nobody asked you, cat boy.
I only pretty much play one character right now. I have a couple of vaults, but I've been mostly just been playing Alex, and his garb is the red mage artifact gear that you can dye thanks to Crystalline Conflict. Thank you, Brandon, for
the Virtu sets. You're welcome.
Yep. Dyed metallic gold, and so
fancy boy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Are you a red mage or a gold mage here?
Well, okay, and here's the thing, right? So, this all lends itself to something I like to talk about the show at least once every episode, Casino RP. So, my new shtick in Casino RP when I'm running a casino room. Oh, I've got stories to tell about that too. Oh my gosh, so many stories.
Oh, yeah.
There's a couple things, but so now my character is in red mage gear at the start. I spent $7 to buy the power-up emote from the online store, which basically your character like lifts up into the air, kind of Super Saiyan animation and gold energy going around. So I set up this macro where I do the power-up thing. Red mage lifts up into the air. You see gold energy flying around him, and then the macro shifts into from red mage to red mage, but with the glamour plate set to it being all in gold. That's not enough though, because then he powers up again, and then the glamour changes from red mage artifact gear to the gambler gear that you buy from the gold saucer, all dyed in metallic gold. So it's this big like anime like transformation sequence. It's not magical girl transformation, mind you, but basically it's a 2-stage transformation going from red mage to gold gambler.
So
and I love it.
Basically went full Gaius Balsar from the Praetorium.
Yes, I did.
Oh my goodness!
And it is fantastic.
Or to harken back to the Sonic 2 discussion a couple episodes ago, you just went full Supersonic.
Yes, I did. And it is my favorite macro of all time, and I love using it when I start doing casino stuff. And speaking of that, I had to build a new casino room out of my apartment because for the longest time, I was running the casino stuff that I was doing out of a room created for me to run out of an FC house. This is not the Stars Herald FC I was working out of. It's another FC that I was friends with a lot of people that are in there. That FC dealt with some major drama of some sort, and within the span of a few hours, dissolved as an FC. The person who had the casino room left the house, no longer had the apartment, so I found myself basically without a space to do my usual gaming job stuff. So I'm like, well, crap, I guess, no room to game out of, and I didn't win in the housing lottery, so I basically had to say goodbye to Alex's homey little apartment, and I converted it into a gaming den.
Man, it's too bad my character over there is too poor to gamble.
Yeah, it's probably a good thing.
Literally and in character.
And speaking of FC stuff, as far as the Stars Herald goes, the Stars Herald has a couple new people in it. In the wake of the last episode, Megan, hi.
Yeah, I used to be big into RP and World of Warcraft, like way back in the day. I was actually in an RP guild. This was before I even got into raiding or doing anything like that. And it was actually kind of adorable because I did a lot of RP on the Alliance side, and then I also had a Horde character who I started kind of getting into raiding with, and then the guild master was like, "Oh, you do RP? Come teach us how to RP." So I was like a little Forsaken rogue, like teaching them how to do emotes and like having little in-game parties and stuff to like help them figure it out. Oh, it was very
Did
cool.
you hold RP workshops?
Yeah, literally. It was like we went out to the the island where the warrior quest is, where you do like duels and stuff. So there's like a little arena with like benches, and so we'd have like everybody come sit on the benches, and I would like go up front, like give a little talk, and then we would like mill around and practice after. It was very cute. But yeah, and then like I really loved that, and I had a lot of fun. I did that a lot with one of my really good friends from high school, who I'm still friends with, who I'm still trying to convince to come join Final Fantasy XIV, but she's like, I'm too busy. I'm like, meh. Anyway, I've been really wanting to get back into RP, especially on Final Fantasy XIV. Like, we've done it briefly before, but I don't know. Something I've really been missing, so I decided to, when we had Sarah on the podcast, I was like, yes! This sounds like exactly what I want. And so, yeah, I immediately went and made a character and then boosted her level so that I wouldn't have to do all the story. But, yeah, so my character she's a former Thavnarian dancer who fled Thavnare during the final days and doesn't want to dance anymore because of her tragic backstory. You must be a level 5 friend to unlock. And now she's doing she's studying astrology to become an astrologian, but she has no money, so she's working as basically a maid in the cafe at the Stars Herald office. But she's terrible at cooking, and so because she was like a dancer before, like she she was fancy. She had money. She didn't need to cook. She knows how to clean, like, because she didn't grow up that way. But yeah, she's terrible at cooking. And so what I did was I like just went through like the auction house and like as many food vendors as I could find, and I bought anything that looked weird. And so now, if you're at the Free Company house and like hanging out, she'll like come serve you tea. Like she's good at making tea, drink the tea, but she'll be like, and here's the cookie, and I'll like hand you some soup or like a snail.
I actually read your character's card, and so from what I can understand is that she's never going to dance again, got a guilty feeling, and got no rhythm.
Oh my god. She might. That's the point of her like character development. She needs an arc. She needs somewhere to go. She needs something to overcome.
Well, Alex does happen to be a pretty good cook, so as soon as Alex experiences some of your character's cooking, there's probably going to be a workshop there.
So, a little bit of breaking news here, Ro. Negan's not the only one who's got a character in Diabolos anymore, wanting to join Star's Herald.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that's right. I have created a new character of my own on that server with the intent of hoping to join up with you guys as well.
Oh, nice.
Little out of character story, or a bit meta story, I suppose. When I first started playing Final Fantasy, I made Old Man Franks my main as a male Rogadin because I'm like, well, I come from the Horde. I want to play a monstrous-looking character. At the time, the most monstrous-looking race that I had access to, because I own no expansions, was a Rogadin, so why not? And then I kind of got into the lore, going, okay, this doesn't really fit the backstory. This isn't a lore-appropriate name. I'm going to change him to a Highlander Hure and go on from there. That character I just created uses the exact same character data as my initial character I made in the game.
Oh.
So now I just need to come up with his own tragic backstory for why he has fled his own home.
Okay, hold up. While we're on that, can I just ask, what? Now, here's the thing with Alex, right? Here's Alex's backstory. I wouldn't necessarily call it a tragic backstory.
You don't have to have a tragic backstory.
I probably won't. I was just sassing about it.
That's the point I'm trying to get to. When you're role-playing in Final Fantasy XIV, you do not every character needs to have a tragic backstory. It is totally all right to have lived a relatively normal, okay life.
Yeah, absolutely. I just, I'm a melodramatic little bitch that loves drama.
I mean, I have tragic backstories for my 4 characters that I write about. I'm probably not going to do that with this poor guy.
Well, I've been thinking about maybe making an alt that's more... Well, that's the thing. Even though she has a tragic backstory, she doesn't like to talk about it, and like her general interactions are more on the silly side with all this food stuff. And like... But that's the thing, like, I don't know. I'm a writer. I like to make things, like, 5 levels deep.
Yeah, you see, like, instead of the tragic backstory trope, I went with the isekai trope, so,
Yep. Ironically enough, OMF has both.
Oh my god. How very anime of you.
I know, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I've been thinking about making an alt that's just like a silly adventure for funsies, but I'm not going to boost them again because that shit's expensive.
Yeah, I didn't do it for mine for that exact reason. Like, I'll wait for another sale.
But I've been enjoying
also playing low-level Arcanist is kind of fun.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. I wanted to make an Arcanist because I was thinking about doing just like a Wandering Charlian Scholar because they are hilarious. It's like my tragic backstory is I forgot to eat breakfast.
Well, if you do the low-level Arcanist storyline, they forget to do the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm. But, yeah. I'm eating cough drops currently.
I think you're supposed to suck on them, not eat them.
Well, these ones are like really old, so they're kind of chewy.
One thing that I did experience just yesterday for the first time, I finally decided to level fishing. And
I
and
picked a good episode to do my Fisher joke.
And I got involved in ocean fishing. And you know what? I gotta say, right now I have fishing up to level 28 or 29. And I only did 2 trips of ocean fishing, and the leveling was pretty amazing and pretty freaking quick. And I'm like, yeah. It's so, at least so far, the beginning of fishing is so much more painless compared to fishing in World of Warcraft. It is silly.
Yeah. Have you gotten the mount or the pet?
No. Are you talking about things that happen when there's like dolphins or seagulls and stuff?
See, I don't know how it actually. I've never done it. Ward does it all the time, and he also made an RP character, and he's been doing a lot of ocean fishing, and he's already got them out. And the pet, they're both sharks. Which
the mount, at least you have to get a certain number of points on your ocean fishing journey. I don't know exactly how many, but
yeah, I got ways to go for that. Oh, God.
I was just going to say, I do have a question. How do you guys feel about ocean fishing being on a timed expedition?
I don't like it, to be honest.
I hate it so much.
That's the reason why I haven't tried it yet, because it's always like, oh, it's in 40 minutes, or it's happening right when I'm either like really tired and want to leave, or like I'm about to do something else, and I'm like,
So I think the solution would be if it was on the hour every hour instead of every other hour.
I agree.
Then it would be okay. But you definitely kind of have to plan a little bit around it when it's only every 2 hours, especially if you're a relatively casual player and you may only play 2 or 3 hours when you do a session or where like that. Then the fishing trip itself only takes like half an hour. So to me, it always seemed kind of weird that a half an hour out of 2 hours is the trip. But if it was every hour,
just let people queue up for it. There's no need for this whatsoever.
I think part of for time gating it is so that there's more people doing it at the same time, so it feels like more of a community group experience.
I mean, yeah, I can kind of understand that. But at the same time, it's like if I only have like a couple hours to go and I just want to like chain ocean fishing runs, it's really convenient.
Mm-hmm.
I guess maybe part of it is that it's not designed to be something that should be chained one after another. Like, don't get me wrong. There are people who level fishing solely off of ocean fishing, and it's a totally valid way to level, and it's probably how I'm going to be leveling my fishing. But I think the design intent was for ocean fishing to be a supplement, not a replacement, if that makes sense.
Well, that does make sense. I don't know. I feel like anything that you can do to like increase player convenience, such as letting people queue up when they have time to dedicate to a few ocean fishing runs to go for the mount or the pet or some of the rare catches, whatever. I don't know. I don't know. I think waiting on people to, or telling people you have to wait for every 2 hours on the hour or on the every other hour is just, I don't want to say it's like mean or anything because, it's fishing. Who cares that much? But at the same time, it's like, if people want to go do this when they're available to do it, it seems like you're just being kind of unnecessarily time-gatey to them, and I'm just not a fan of that design. So as a consequence, I've barely touched ocean fishing. I've leveled Fisher on 2 separate characters, 2 max, and the way I did it was through leave quests and just buying the things that I needed to turn in.
I did it in Diadem.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
I still have not done any leveling in Diadem.
Really? That's what I'm doing. Well, right now I'm doing, on my RP character, I'm doing a lot because you can buy a bunch of emotes with the scripts. But you have to have Gatherer to level 10 and Crafter to level 20 before you can, do the things to turn in the thing. And like, that took me like 2 days. Which is, when you're on Dayquil, doing a Omni Crafter Blitz run is actually not that bad because it's very single-minded and you don't gotta think too much. You just like press the button.
Click the macro.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'm finally, it's like, I haven't done much of it yet, but I'm finally like all set to do it.
Cool. So, I mean, I've taken up a lot of time talking about just like stuff that I've been doing and running into. Brandon, what have you been up to in the past couple of weeks?
Not really much of anything. Just doing my weekly run of Aglia. I've got 3 of the 5 pieces of the aiming gear for my machinist, which does not fit my aesthetic whatsoever. So I probably glamored all my Magitech armor back over it. What are you going to do? Been kind of absent-mindedly leveling my Femrose alt jobs. So I'm planning on doing the MSQ for Endwalker with her as a Black Mage. So for the moment, I'm just leveling all the other jobs just via roulettes. And so far, she's barely done any bit of the Endwalker MSQ. And she's already got Astrologian at 90. And I think Dancer is at like 83 or 84 at this point. But aside from that, I've mostly been figuring out, okay, well, what kind of alt do I want to make to like invade the Stars Herald?
What about you, Megan? Aside from your RP character and the diadem stuff, any other interesting shenanigans?
Not really. I've been kind of trying to figure out, since my static's not going anymore, I've been trying to figure out what alt job I want to do. Because I'm no longer doing, or it's like, I'm BIS on Dancer. I just need the weapon to be BIS on Bard. I haven't finished leveling up Machinist yet, but I'm like, do I want to do... I want to do something cast. I was like, I'm going to do Monk, but then, Monk happened to me. So
Go Ninja! Go Ninja!
So I decided that I wanted to do something like caster ranged because melee is for peasants. And
yes.
So I've been leveling Red Mage because Red Mage is fun and fancy. And but I've been doing stuff as a summoner because I already had that leveled. And I'm like, maybe I want to do summoner. I don't know. It's fun. I like pets. And it's very simple. But yeah, I do sort of feel like since I know how to do Bard and Dancer and like I have the gear for it, that's what I should continue to do. Because it's like it's good for a raid comp. And like I don't know, I like feeling useful. But yeah, it's like with Bard, if you can play, if you're willing to play Bard, you will play Bard. Everybody wants Bard, nobody wants to be a Bard. That's the Bard life. Everybody like wants to roleplay a Bard because they're fun.
Yeah.
You get to dingly dance and sing and shit, but whoa.
I'm sorry, they get to what now?
Dance, dingly do. Do it on their flute. Make you run really fast. Well, this whenever I do the freaking Peloton, I'm always imagining them being like, dude, run, motherfucker.
I just wanted to see if I could get you on the record on the podcast saying dingly dangly do again.
I mean, I can sound clip that bit later.
Sir, I'm on drugs. This is inadmissible.
I'm just taking advantage.
Oh.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, dingly, suck my butt. I don't fucking know, man. Anyway, being a Bard is stressful. Mostly because if you screw one thing up, you fucked up your parse, and it's a very complicated rotation. And I do remember one night we were on P3S, and we had like what we were doing the wipe at like sub 1%, and I like realized that I had messed up my rotation, and I was like, oh no, I might cry. And then I'm like, I don't think I should play this class anymore. Yeah. Although I will say for class fantasy, it's very realistic because you have to hit your buttons on the beat, or else you fucked.
Yeah, I am more than happy with Summoner and Red Mage rotations. Yes, I said I'm happy with Red Mage rotation. I finally understand it now. It's okay. It's going to be okay.
I told you so.
I like Summoner more than Red Mage, but I can still play Red Mage just fine now at 90.
I can't say I blame you there.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how it's going to play at max level. I'm still about halfway there from 80 to 90. Oh my god. Look, I'm losing it. I am losing it.
Honestly, you're good at the more you level Red Mage, the more things they just tack onto the end of your melee rotations.
Yeah.
So
I'm running out of buttons.
If you've got everything up to that, you're just like, oh, okay, just push more glowy things after I push the last glowy thing.
See the thing that lit up? Okay, push it. Hey, it lit up again. Push it again.
It is nice to be able to do like twice as many stabby times.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah.
I really like the change they made to how their, gain this much mana button works and how you'd only need 50 as opposed to 80 to do your full melee rotation. It makes it feel a lot smoother and a lot more fun, and you spend a lot more time chopping things and then hitting them with the big explosion and then the rose line of death.
Yeah. I haven't unlocked the line of death yet. I've seen it in PvP though.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of fun to use that in PvP. It's one of the reasons I've enjoyed PvPing with Red Mage so much in the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, I've been doing Red Mage PvP on my main, mostly for the aesthetic, but also because it's good. But yeah, on my alt, because on my RP alt I have like nothing because it's a boost. I wanted to get all the fancy glamour items, so of course I was PvPing a bunch. But I only had like Dancer and Astrologian unlocked. Mm-hmm. And so I'm sure like whenever I came in as Astrologian, I could just feel people being like, why aren't you a white mage? And I'm like, this is all I
have. Well, I think on that note, we're going to steer things toward wrapping it up here. But before we get into our usual outro stuff, I want to talk a little bit about the next episode. Because, it's episode 14. This is a show about Final Fantasy 14. So I figure we've been doing this long enough that I think that we're still going to be doing it for a while. So why not celebrate that? So I'm going to do a little bit of a giveaway. I'm spending a little money, and I'm giving you listeners a chance to win something. The prize is basically going to be anything up to $25 in value from the online store as far as a gift code goes. I'm not going to make it a specific item because different people want different things. But if there is something up to $25 US on the online store that you want, you can win it. The way that you win it is by sending us an email at apodcastreborn@gmail.com and answering this question. If you could add anything to the gold saucer, what would it be? That is all there is to it. So once again, send your email to apodcastreborn@gmail.com. Let us know if you could add anything to the gold saucer, what would it be? And you'll be entered. I will draw a random winner from all those entries to see who ends up winning that prize. And there you go. That's all there is to it. And as far as like what I would want added to the gold saucer and what these two wacky people would want, we'll talk about that on the next episode.
Sounds groovy.
Functional stripper poles.
You gave it away. but doesn't everybody want those? I mean, really.
On an unrelated note, I just looked it up, and guys, $25? That's 5 swimwear sets.
It's 5 swimwear sets. I mean, you get the ranger poses or the glow sticks, all sorts of
Rose aforementioned power up emote.
Oh yeah. Yep. So get those emails in. Let us know what you'd like to see added to the gold saucer, because I know at some point they're supposed to be adding something this expansion to the gold saucer. At least they talked about it, but we'll we'll see what that is when it happens. Until our next episode, Megan, where can people find you when you are not highly medicated on Dayquil?
Oh, they can find me when I am highly medicated on Dayquil. I Dayquil tweet all the time.
Oh my. Those could be dangerous.
So, it's at CatMomMegan on Twitter. That's MEAGAN. There you can find links to my webtoon, my Tumblr, and just see all my random thoughts, screenshots, and pictures of butterscotch.
Awesome. And Brandon, where can people find you?
Same place. Just go to Twitter and look up the BMAT with 2 T's at the end there, and you've got a link in my profile to everything I've got going on. If you're looking for Final Fantasy 14 specific stuff, I try not to, overdo that too much on my Twitter. So check out my Tumblr, same username, and yeah, just go from there and enjoy whatever you want to.
All right. As for me, you can find me on Twitter at ROWCR. That's RHOWCR. You can find the Twitter for this show at A Podcast Reborn. And as I mentioned with the contest entry, A Podcast Reborn at gmail.com. Send your emails there. Let us know what you want added to the Gold Saucer. We'll talk about that along with other shenanigans on episode 14. The theme for our show is Alex Moukala's Imagine Boss theme for Endwalker. Do check out his YouTube channel for more great music. A link to it can be found in the notes for this podcast. And that music and any other FF14 music you happen to hear on this show belongs to Square Enix. No copyright infringement is intended. So, until episode 14, for Megan, Brandon, and for the ever-vicious Butterscotch, this is Brian Black. Until next time, may your loot rolls be high, your glamour fantastic, and your duties always complete. Brandon?
So, guys, I just want you to remember what I said at the top of the show, and also considering what we talked about a whole lot about it during the show itself, give Fisher a try. I guarantee you before long you'll be hooked. But make sure that while you're doing it, you listen to the proper music. You want to give yourself the best chance of success. Just put on something catchy.
Oh my god. God damn it. Double layered.
No. The layers. These dad jokes are turning into onions.
The jokes are eating themselves.
Take care, everybody.